Matthew 25 calls all of us to actively engage in the world around us so that our faith comes alive and we wake up to new possibilities. By accepting the Matthew 25 invitation, you can help our denomination become a more relevant presence in the world. We recognize Christ's urgent call to be a church of action where God's love, justice, and mercy shine forth and are contagious. The Presbyterian Hunger Program is proud to partner with so many organizations and congregations that have already been about doing incredible work that seeks to eradicate poverty, eliminate structural racism, and build vital congregations, as well as addressing climate change. Equal Exchange is just one of those amazing partners, and we are excited to hear from Susan Sklar and Bethany McGinnis from the Interfaith team at Equal Exchange. Bethany and Susan, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks, Jessica. I'm just going to share my screen here. Okay. So Equal Exchange and the Presbyterian Church USA have been partners for 20 years, and Equal Exchange was founded in 1986 as the first fair trade coffee company in the United States. In this presentation, we're going to describe the mission of Equal Exchange, and we're going to feature a handful of different farmer cooperatives to illustrate how the Equal Exchange model helps to eliminate systemic poverty and racism and contributes to congregational vitality.
There are many goals built into Equal Exchange's mission. We're not only trying to change the way that trade is done in the world so that it's more fair to farmers, we're also trying to eliminate systemic poverty and work against racism and gender inequality. Our model also works to promote stewardship of the earth through organic and sustainable agricultural practices.
Started in 2001, the Presbyterian Coffee Project offers a special link between congregations, Presbyterian individuals, and communities around the world. Churches can reach out to neighbors overseas, not only with prayers and offerings, but with goods and products we purchase. A warm cup of coffee or tea in our hands is perhaps the most tangible daily connection we have with farmers around the world. It represents warmth, hospitality, fellowship, hard work, and life's pleasures, both fine and simple. Through the Presbyterian Coffee Project, you get access to organic, fairly traded products at wholesale case prices, ensuring that more of the money you spend on coffee and other products reaches the hardworking farmers who actually grow them.
Many of the products that Equal Exchange sells are grown in other countries and cannot be grown in the US. We work with 40 different farmer cooperatives in 20 countries, many of them in Latin America and Africa. Although Equal Exchange started off just importing coffee, we currently work with about 40 small-scale farmer cooperatives and in the areas of tea, chocolate, nuts, olive oil, dried fruit, as well as bananas and avocados, which are fresh. 12 of these cooperatives are coffee cooperatives, and coffee still makes up approximately 70% of Equal Exchange's products.
Church congregations are at the heart of our program. They helped build Equal Exchange into what it is today. Thousands of congregations around the country do church sales after services or run holiday bazaars with Equal Exchange products in the fall. These congregations serve Equal Exchange coffee for fellowship hour, and there's a clear values match. They're living out their values by choosing products that don't exploit producers or the environment.
Fair trade is different than conventional trade. A system built on exploitation of producers in order to line the pockets of shareholders and provide cheap prices for consumers. In the Equal Exchange model, we have different principles and priorities. Products are purchased directly from small farmer cooperatives. Long-term relationships are established. There's pre-harvest financing to avoid predatory loans. There are guaranteed above market prices and extra premiums for farmer co-ops. Democratic farmer co-ops give farmers a voice in trade, access to markets, and strength in numbers. No human rights violations in farming and productions are allowed. There's no child labor or forced labor. There's equal treatment of women and safe working conditions. Organic, sustainable farming practices are in place to help safeguard the environment and restore the planet to health.
So conventional or non-organic farming is harmful to farmers, the planet, and those who consume these products. Conventional farms often clear-cut trees in order to plant a monoculture of coffee that gets maximum exposure to the sun. The removal of trees leads to soil erosion, ultimately making farmland less productive. With the soil's natural fertility depleted, conventional farms rely on chemical pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers, which are harmful for the environment and for people's health. Organic farming is different. Shade-grown coffee is planted among different types of plants like citrus and banana trees. And these trees allow for birds and wildlife to flourish, which can't happen if trees are cut down. Through organic farming, there are no fossil fuel-based toxic or pesticides used. The soil is enriched through composting and natural supplements versus chemical fertilizers.
All of these principles are part of what we call solidarity economics, which are the roots of equal exchange. But where did this idea originate? Just a quick background, the fair trade was a system that was started by progressives who worked with Latin American priests to help form a more equitable system of economics. A European fair trade system that was trying to reconceptualize a new economics, which addressed the working class and the poor who were left behind. Equal exchange emerged with many organizations from this. Many of these values emerged in the 1980s. It was an idea that took root due to liberation theology, and a growing number of groups of workers and producers had been excluded from the mainstream economic system and were getting deeper into debt and starving. Grassroots Christian leaders devoted to helping poor people saw a need to strengthen locally rooted ways to meet basic survival needs for local families in the community. Some examples of innovations that emerged from this time period in the 80s are community associations, mutual aid organizations, and savings and loan associations.
In Europe and the US in the 1960s and 70s, due to a growing dissatisfaction with the culture of dominant market economy, a more privileged group of middle-class people created countercultural structures similar to those that were being created in Europe and the US, often in the form of cooperatives. Cooperative childcare, healthcare, and housing groups came of age in the 1980s. These new models were happening at the same time as the US movement against the war in Vietnam. A larger movement started forming, which solidified in the 90s. International and regional movements were learning from one another and started to join forces to create more democratic alternatives to existing market structures. Many brick and mortar food co-ops were established during this period. These were Equal Exchange's first supporters and still support our organization today. We are all part of this movement.
As a part of this movement, the Equal Exchange model works against racism. The world economy is underpinned by racist capitalism that is especially harmful to Black people, Indigenous people, and other people of color, as well as women. Equal Exchange works with Black and brown small-scale farmers to help them to gain access to more lucrative markets in the US. By doing so, we are helping to establish an alternative economic system that empowers farmers and helps to eliminate systemic racism. The alternative economic supply chain benefits farmers who might otherwise have had to abandon their land and to go work in factories for a few dollars a day under difficult conditions. This is the solidarity model that we are asking you to support. It empowers the poorest people in society. Through our educational resources and presentations like this one to churches around the country, we're trying to raise awareness of these issues. Our wholesale program keeps cases of organic, fairly trade products so low that they are more affordable and accessible to those on the margins, often people of color whose access to affordable, healthy foods is limited. We encourage community buying clubs to join together to share cases of our products that people use every day as an alternative distribution model outside the corporate system.
You may have heard about issues of forced labor or child labor in the chocolate industry. There are reports that estimate that there are between 500,000 and 1.5 million child laborers in the cocoa sector of the Ivory Coast and Ghana alone. These are countries which produce over 70% of the world's cocoa. In 2019, the Washington Post released a report about how these issues surrounding cocoa production today are still happening. In the report, they interviewed some of the biggest players in chocolate, Nestle, Mars, and Hershey's, and they could not confirm that their chocolate was not produced using forced or child labor. Why is this happening? Consumer demand for cheap chocolate. Many cocoa farming families in the Ivory Coast and Ghana make roughly $2 a day, making it difficult for them to pay hired laborers to harvest the crop, fueling the need for child labor. Fair trade pricing provides predictable, stable income that farmers can count on, working to eliminate systemic poverty in the cocoa industry. An example of a co-op that we work with in Africa is one of our newest partners, Scoops Ikpa in Togo. Founded in 2018, they have 450 producers. They have a 2030 vision, which includes finding a solution to control the cacao pest myriad, getting the whole region growing organically for the health of the community, building a strong example of a good cocoa company, diversifying the services they offer to members, and establishing a microfinance system to give small loans to members at competitive rates.
Since Equal Exchange is an organization primarily based in the US, we acknowledge that our business exists in an economy that was founded on anti-Blackness, Native genocide, and slavery. We are committed to living up to our mission of building a more democratic, just, and equitable world, and to be actively anti-racist in our work. So one of the groups that we work with here in the United States is a group called New Communities. It's a grassroots organization that's worked for over 40 years to empower African-American families in Southwest Georgia and to advocate for social justice. New Communities was born out of the Civil Rights Movement in 1969 as America's first community land trust that was owned and operated by Black farmers. It became one of the original models for community land trusts in the US. Shirley Sherrod, who's pictured there on the left, was the founder with her husband of New Communities, and she said that coming out of slavery, that she and the founders realized that they needed to build something of their own in order to use the skills they had to make life better and to lead people out of poverty. The original community was comprised of almost 6,000 acres, and it was the largest parcel of land owned by Black people in the whole country. But systematic racism and discrimination pushed them out of agriculture. White dominance in all levels of government in the South meant that Black farmers' interests were not protected, and New Communities faced discrimination from the banking system. They had a hard time accessing loans, and they eventually did go out of business. So then in 2011, they restarted. They had amazing tenacity. Some of the original founders had scattered over the years, but Shirley and Sherrod and others found land in the area of Albany, Georgia. They located a property just outside the city limits, which was once owned by the largest slave holder and richest man in Georgia. And they bought that land. New Communities grows pecans, its largest crop. They also grow 30 acres of vegetables to help with food insecurity in the local area. Last year, Equal Exchange bought all of their pecan halves and helped find a buyer for the pieces that are a result of the shelling process. Through the Southwest Georgia project, New Communities provides regular training to about 100 farmers hoping to expand production and share knowledge.
So we're encouraging you to put your values into action and to use your consumer dollars well to combat racism and systemic poverty. You can choose to purchase fairly traded products for your family. You can ask your church to serve only fair trade coffee. You can avoid purchasing from large corporations and educate others about why fair trade matters. Equal Exchange has a lot of free tools and resources that you can find at equalexchange.coop/tools. And there's another group called the Fair World Project at fairworldproject.org that also has wonderful resources you can use.
We encourage you to host an equal exchange holiday sale at your church. We offer ethically sourced gifts that have meaning, and they're high quality, delicious products for holiday baking, gifting, and just using to make your holiday meals. There's wholesale case pricing. Products can be marked up and sold as a fundraiser for your church or group. And some of the holidays that you can focus on are Christmas, Valentine's Day, Easter. We just passed Halloween and sold a lot of chocolate, and also Earth Day.
An example of a Presbyterian church that's doing wonderful work is the First Presbyterian Church of Knoxville, Tennessee. So they've been equal exchange supporters since 2001, and they have a mission market where they sell equal exchange fair trade products. Even during the pandemic, they continued to put this as a forefront of their mission, and they purchased over $4,500 worth of coffee in 2020. And in terms of all the groups that we work with, which is about 6,000 faith-based groups around the country, they were at number 31 in terms of their rank. And of all the 249 participating congregations that are part of the PCUSA Coffee Project, they were number 8. So they're doing wonderful work. We just wanted to give a shout out to them. So this is the equal exchange ordering information. We advise you to plan ahead and order at least 10 business days before you want to receive your order. You can order by web store at shop.equalexchange.coop, or you can give our team a call at 774-776-7366, and we'll be glad to help you out there. We're passing along a 10% discount code. That is the words FAIRFALL altogether, FAIRFALL, and you can get a 10% discount on your order until the end of this year.
Susan and Bethany, thank you so much for sharing with us the ways in which fair trade really is an opportunity for congregations to engage the Matthew 25 initiative. We're so thankful for your partnership and for the amazing work that Equal Exchange is doing. Thank you.
Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you for having us.